Yeah, I promised I'd make this episode in what, November? It's now December. I'm so sorry. So let's get started. Let's get right down to business. Um, when I first asked what people wanted to see in this video, they said they wanted to see curvy hair like Pinkie Pie's, and they want to see gradients like rarities. So we're gonna do that today. Um, I've already got some basic vectors so far. You got the strokes, and I've got this cape and this squishy thing. I don't know what to call it. You don't have to do that. Just before you make your hair, you should always have your strokes and your ears set up, like I showed you before. Um, let's do Pinky first. All right, so here's Pinky. I've got the hair layer or group already in there. It's between the stroke and the ears. Ignore the thing. That's just the whatever you call this thing. Um, I've already done the back layer. That's just like a stroke. I cut it off here because the mane and the hair are two separate groups. The mane should be under the stroke, and the hair should be on top of the stroke. So, with Pinky, it was kind of one big blob. So I just cut it off here because that seemed like a good place to cut it off. So, as usual with your pen tool, go through and make the back layer as such. You can grab that from your color guide under the hair strokes. Go ahead and grab the hair fill as well. All right. And we're going to go turn this down opacity wise. And we're going to start vectoring in the hair fill. It's a lot like a stroke. For these cotton candy like curve, not curves, almost semicircle kind of things, you want to have two endpoints, one on each side, and if necessary, a midpoint. And you'll notice that I am totally ignoring the curvy things inside. Well, Georange, why would you do that? I will show you why in just a minute. And my heater's about to turn on. I'm sorry about that if that ruins my perfect recording. But it is very cold in the winter time. Okay. Again, I'm using control click to move both Bezier curves and keep the point smooth. And I'm using alt click to make the point nice and sharp when I'm making corners. Again, the ear is on top, so I can be real messy right here. Close that off. All right, so you've got this, which is the wrong color. So go ahead and change that. So right now you ended up with this, and that's your normal basic hair, but now you've got these lines you need to take care of. And so to do that, go ahead and turn your opacities down. Still have your pen tool open. Instead of doing what most people do, and I watch people vector, so I know how this goes. I'm always watching you. What most people do is they go like this. They go and make and stop there. And then they go and try to make the squiggly things so that each segment is separated. What I mean is, like, each of these squiggly things defines a new segment in the hair fill. I'll cut it off there. This is just an example. I'm gonna speed it up real quick. So what I see most people do is they do this. They don't double click twice. All right, this is what people do. They got both of these are two separate things. So it's that this top one is its own thing, and this bottom one is its own thing. And what that does is when you're vectoring, you can't see the point adjacent from the other point, and so you end up with uneven ends and uneven lines in between, and that looks messy. Would you agree? So what we're gonna do today is I'm gonna teach you how to do it the nice, clean way, and that is by using the subtract from path or area, shape area, whatever you call it, tool in the pen tool. And you want to still be on the shape, the hair fill shape. So make sure you have that selected, the mask. Go like, and just start vectoring out the squiggly thing. Squiggly line, whatever you want to call it. And see, look how you can see if the paths look linear or straight or not. If they look lumpy, you can see it right here. You can't see it if you're using two separate layers. And I really like that, this one, because it allows you to see if your lines look straight and clean and even. And so you're left with a nice, oh, that looks bad. Nice clean point. Or not point, line thingy. And see up here how this looks clean now? It looks like one continuous shape. That's because it is a continuous shape, unlike this, which is not a continuous shape. All right, moving on. And now my heater's off. Just thought you'd like to know. Gonna do this one now. For these kinds of circles, this should only take 2 anchor points. You shouldn't have to use 3 or 4. If you use 4, you're doing something wrong. At the maximum, you should be using 3. I'm just shift clicking here. Not shift, control. Alt click for the sharp points. I'm gonna have to use a midpoint here. See? 3 points. And I'm gonna close it off here. And that's one more. See how I have it kind of running out here? That's because in case I want to change it later, I can change it later. I'll show you what I mean later in just a bit. Looks like I'm gonna need a midpoint here. Make sure to keep your points when you're doing curves. Adjacent and the Bezier curves should be somewhat parallel to each other or similar. I really need a new microphone stand. That was on my Christmas wish list for myself, and I probably won't get one. But talking with all this microphone equipment in front of your face is getting pretty annoying. All right. Now for this one, it kind of loops back onto itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to do what we've been doing. Like, well, G-Orange. Thanks for telling me that. And you're going to loop it back on itself. Make sure, again, keep the points nice and adjacent. That looks terrible, dear God. Okay. Now, if we zoom in a little bit, you're going to see this. And what you need to do is make sure these points line up together so that they create a nice teardrop shape in between. Go ahead and close that up. Oh, my bad. Make sure they close up here, because that's where the fill layer closes. And that'll create, it'll create a nice teardrop shape. And I think that's all the curves. Yeah, that is. So let's take a look and see what we've done here. And look at that. That is some pretty clean hair, if I do say so myself. See how it looks like one continuous shape in between, because it is. And we've got some nice even line, curvy lines in between. This one looks kind of even, but it's kind of not because I broke it. Ugh. Maybe if I just delete that, that looks better. There we go. Yeah. Go ahead and save, because you just did some Pinkie Pie hair. Now on to gradients. You can see I've already done the horn here, and I've already added some color here because the horn goes on top of the hair layer. It really depends on what kind of vector you're doing. Sometimes a horn might be covered by the hair, sometimes it might not. Just experiment with that. In this case, even the strokes cover the hair. So I put the strokes in the ear layer just this one time. Again, I've already done the base layer, the hair fill, or the hair stroke. So I'm going to grab the hair fill layer now, or color. Turn the opacity down. And I'm going to do the non-gradient part first. That's this part up here. You can see the gradient down here. So we're going to do the same thing. Kind of guesstimate where things end and where things begin. All right. Alt click that. And we just go over here because the horn is overlapping. Make sure the horn fill is its own fill. Make sure it's not part of the fills under the strokes, because that way it makes hair a whole lot easier. All right, so we've got that. And we're going to go ahead and go subtract from path area up here on your toolbar. Turn the opacity down and go ahead and start vectoring those line thingies that I have no name for. I'm sure there's some sort of official name for them. In hair fashion or something. But I am not a hair fashion or something guy. This is one big part. Kind of curves up there. Oops. Again, leave some space or some line outside of the fill. It's a good idea to put your anchor points outside of the fill anyways. Like as you can see I'm doing, they're kind of outside. This one's kind of an incomplete one. And this method, not only does it make your lines look cleaner, it also speeds up vectoring. because you don't have to go and stop and make the adjustments in between when you're doing the line things, like if you did when you were if you made each of these segments a different shape. All right, so those are all your line things. And doesn't that look fabulous? Nope. There's some unevenness up here, and this is why I said to make the paths nice and long, because you can do things like resize it a little bit and the lines will stay the same because you've extended them far enough out. All right, there we go. So that's the non-gradient part. Now let's do the gradient part, which you basically do the same way, believe it or not. Color doesn't matter because we're going to put a gradient overlay on top. So just keep the same color. Again, make sure this line is kind of the same. I'm going to do this part as a separate thing, so I'm going to end this right here. Oops. Looks like I need a midpoint there. For S curves, it's okay to have 4 points though. But if you're doing like a regular curvy kind of curve, then 3 points is your maximum. See here, I'm doing 4 points because it's an S curve. And if you don't know what an S curve is, that's when it makes an S. Believe it or not. All right, so I've done that. Now let's go ahead and do the line thingy. Grab your subtract tool while you still have the mask selected. This one's kind of tricky because the gradient kind of hides it. Ooh, that looks bad. I'm sorry. I apologize for my messiness today, but I'm trying to speed through this. Oh, that was bad. You didn't see that. I so hope you didn't. And now you're going to replay the video just so you can see it and realize it wasn't that big of a mistake, but I am all about mistakes. All right, so finishing up here. I don't like to do time lapses, by the way, because I know people like to see how other people vector, so I like to keep that in there. All right, you got that done. Looks a-okay to me. So let's go ahead and put the gradient in. Go back to your color guide. If your color guide has a gradient in it, go ahead and select the 2 colors. This is just this third panel is here to show you what the gradient looks like combined. All right, so the gradient is dark on top and light on bottom. Memorize that. Memorize the angle too. It's kind of facing this way-ish. So go ahead and go to FX, gradient overlay. Select the gradient, inverse. Make sure everything is 100%. There's no reverse. It's linear, not radial, not angle. It's linear. Align with layer. And what you should be, that should all be default though. What you need to play around with is the angle and the scale. Angle, like I said, is which way it faces. And the scale is how much the gradient actually is smoothed. The smaller percentage is not as smooth. Large percentage is, oh my god, that's so smooth. I'm going to go ahead and say 90%, and then I'm going to click and drag it on the actual image, and that will change the position. Right there looks good. Maybe a bit more that way. Yeah. There we go. All right. So there's your first gradient. That looks pretty good, in my opinion. Now let's do these 2 bottom parts here. This top one isn't a gradient, so I'm just going to go ahead and vector that real quick. That is the same color as the top. Okay. Now this gradient kind of blends into a the hair stroke color, so I'm just going to really quickly kind of guess where it ends. I'm going to say there. Actually more like there. And then I'm going to vector this curve up here. The phone's ringing and I'm going to ignore it because I am recording right now and my heater turns on again. God damn all these distractions. All right, so you've got this and that. So this gradient, I've already selected the colors. Go to gradient overlay. Select the gradient. It's kind of that way-ish, I want to say. That looks about right. There we go. Okay. And there you go. You know what? No. This requires a lot of playing around. That looks good. Let's go with that. All right, so that's how you do line hair and gradient. Save. That looks pretty good. Yeah. So the real key thing here is not the gradient, but the actual lines and the subtract tool and using one continuous shape for each big shapey thing there. Because otherwise you end up with some uneven edges and it doesn't look right. The line thing method can be used for people like Applejack, Fluttershy, Scootaloo, Apple Bloom, Karma, the Reddit pony. People like that. Now for multicolored hair like Rainbow Dash and Twilight. Twilight also has line things too. So Twilight's like a big all-in-one. She uses both this and the next method I'm about to show you for hair. Let's use this. Go ahead and save that. Good job, you guys. Although you probably weren't following along or anything. Let's get the Rainbow Dash color guide. Alright, so go ahead and grab the hair strokes. Make the hair group. I'm just doing this real quick, guys. Keep the video short. Alright, so Rainbow Dash, Twilight Sparkle, they've all got the multicolored hair kind of thing going on. So let's just start first with the hair stroke, which is the same as always. No difference there. It is really cold today. Like, I'm shivering right now. Thought you'd like to know that. Which is funny because I live in sunny California. But thanks to global warming, it's not that sunny anymore. No, it's always just cold in the winter. Don't let the advertising deceive you. It gets pretty cold. Alright, so there's your hair strokes. I just kind of botched it real quick. speed the video up. To do the inside part, go ahead, choose whatever color you want. I'm just going to keep the hair stroke color. And you'll see why. You don't need to choose a color in a second. And start outlining all the hair colors. Do. My hand is frozen, and I can't feel my fingers. Okay, so you've got this great path here. Kind of over. Didn't do it. So you're gonna make a new group inside the hair. Click and drag the path you just made from that shape onto the group, and that'll be a mask. Delete the fill that was associated with that mask. So you're left with a group with a mask on it. That's it. It's just a wireframe kind of thing. Not a wireframe, but you know what I mean. Go ahead and grab some colors. And just start drawing some shapes, which are not being drawn. I don't know why. There we go. Okay, start drawing some shapes. I'm being real messy here. And it looks like that, but when I drag it inside the group, watch. Oh my god, where'd it go? It's right there. And you notice I overlapped in the orange because for the orange, that's when you actually make your lines certain. And it's just this one line that has to be certain. Everything else can be really quick and easy. Grab yellow. Again, one precise line. That's the line you should really care about. And everything else can just be all over the place. And there you go. And it shouldn't be orange, it should be yellow. And if you group it right, it should look just like so. Like that. That saves a lot of time compared to having this and then having like red. And you have to turn the opacity down, and then you have to slowly go over here and revector like that and that. And then when you do like the orange, you have to make sure that it lines up with the red. Because if it doesn't line up with the red, then it's going to look really wrong. And you know, yeah, and so on and so forth. I don't want to go and do that because that's the wrong way to do it. With this big old mask here, it covers the continuous shape thing that I'm talking about, and all you have to worry about is the where the colors meet each other, intersect, and overlap. And it's always a good idea to have some fill that floods into the next color, so you don't have any gaps in between. And there's your hair. And that works with Twilight and Rainbow Dash. I don't think there are any other ponies that have layered hair like that, where it's a multicolored thing. Kind of Bon Bon, but not really. Let me just pull out a Twilight picture real quick. Yeah, see, she's got the lines, but she's also got this thing here. So what you want to do is you want to have a mask around this, and then do that stuff too. So that's how you do hair, quick and easy. It's really a lot of masking and subtracting, at least in Photoshop. In Illustrator, this is Illustrator, which I'm trying to learn. You can use the mask tool down here in the layers bar, which I still have no idea how to use correctly. And you can also use the complex shape tool, which it's somewhere. I don't know. Illustrator's confusing. Inkscape. I don't know if you can mask an Inkscape. I honestly don't know. Which is why I don't recommend using it. Even though it's free, it does have some restrictions when it comes to things like masking and layers and overlapping and stuff like that. So, and don't use GIMP, please. Don't use GIMP. That is not even close to what we're talking about here. So, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask it as a comment or on the subreddit. I will answer the YouTube comments as quick as possible. I'd like to answer those. And yeah. Next episode, I don't know what we're going to do next episode. Maybe I could do like a quick time lapse of me vectoring one single pony all together, and you can see everything I talk about meshed into one vector. Other than that, we've gone over eyes, we've gone over hair, we've gone over strokes and fills. I think you're ready to start vectoring everything. If not, please leave a comment or something, and I will tell you if I have already covered that or not. If I haven't, I will go ahead and cover it in the next episode. So thanks for watching. Have a happy holiday. And this is for you, Scotch. I hope you found this useful. All right. See you guys.